Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao Tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Welcome to the second offering of my life and what my journey has been about, my spiritual journey, my journey with Aspire and all the teachings I've been doing over the years, and it's been plenty. You have to understand this is a 50-year journey that I've been on, so I'm looking forward to talking with my beloved Mitch. And he's going to ask questions that were asked of him to ask me. That's simple.
That's right. So I understand that you became ordained with the Unity of Santa Barbara.
No, Unity. In Unity Village, Missouri. It was in
Missouri. Okay.
Yeah, terrible
All right.
place.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I was dissatisfied with seminary. I thought they were training us to be salesmen. And that's really all it amounted to. And I didn't like that at all. It wasn't answering the quest that I had when I saw Ben-Hur and that whole thing.
Right.
So with that, I started getting into the commentaries of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky, who were a Russian, and they were incredibly brilliant men. And then George Gurdjieff came into my vision through books, and I started reading about what that meant, what spiritual awakening was about, what an authentic spiritual practice was about. And I went, oh my gosh. I was sitting back at Unity near the what they called the Bridge of Faith, and I had been there many times as a kid. You know, I'd gone back to Unity a lot, and this man came up to me that worked at the bookstore, and he said, you need to read these books because you're not going to be happy with what they're teaching you. And I didn't know this guy very well. So he gave me the books on the commentaries and Gurdjieff and Ouspensky and all of that. And then he gave me a set of books on spiritual masters of the East. And I started reading those. And all of a sudden, I felt my breath for the first time, really felt it. And I looked around and asked around, and I found a Zen master in Lawrence, Kansas, of all places. Goodness. Lawrence. So there was this big long drive out to Lawrence, Kansas.
Road trip.
And I asked him if I could join, and he said no. And he said, you're too Western, you're too egotistical, you're
never gonna get it.
You're not, yeah. So I knew the Zen tradition because I had read about it. So I thought, okay. So I sat outside his home, right by his front door, the Zendo they had, and I sat there for 3 or 4 months.
What?
Every week.
Really?
Yeah. Every week I sat there.
Huh.
Rain or shine. And it rained, it snowed, and I just huddled up and waited. Finally, one day, he said, it is time for you to come in.
You proved your worth.
Well, there were
drive.
only 5 students, maybe 6.
Huh.
And there was this one guy who was there in an orange robe. I was fascinated by him. He had a mullah on. And it had a picture of a guy on it. And I said, after we were doing our sit, I said, I'm having a terrible time meditating. Terrible. And he said, it's because you're too angry. And I said, God damn it, what are you saying to me? You know, that kind of thing, jokingly. And he said, you need to read this book, and you need to do catharsis. So he handed me the book, And it was called The Orange Book by Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh. And it had all of the reason why we're angry, and I was very angry. I was really disappointed, broken, angry, and he was right. And I started to learn how to do catharsis and made a vow at that moment that when I was ordained, I would go to India and seek out a master.
Okay.
I went after Bhagwan.
Okay. So you were drawn, you hopped on a plane and you flew to
Yeah,
India.
I was ordained. I walked off stage. I had a cab waiting for me with my luggage in it. Got in the cab, went to India.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to put up a slide here of
Whoa.
some well-known spiritual masters, and tell me a little bit something about them and
Okay.
how they might have impacted you.
Nisar Sargada, the Maharaj, was one of the most beautiful people I had ever met. And he used to teach in an attic in this bungalow that he lived in. And he sold BBs. You know what BBs? Remember when we were in India that they're orange and they're horrible and people had to, licking them. He sold BBs,
And it was like some kind of a narcotic,
Yeah,
right?
it was actually. Yeah. So, that was awful. And his face was, it had been, weathered and everything. But he was the most beautiful man. He was just, I was captivated by him. And I sat and listened to him, and I liked the way he was forthright. Yeah, people would do question and answers with him, and he didn't care if you liked him. He told you the truth. And I matched my style around that, because what good does it do if you're saying things that pleasure the ego but don't give you the truth of the gravitas of where you are?
Yeah.
He was wonderful. Muktananda was the next one there.
Yep.
I only saw him a couple of times. He was dying, and there was a lot of controversy around him.
Yeah. I got to meet his predecessor,
Yeah,
Guru Mai.
Guru Mai did
Yeah.
too. I can't give you a full assessment of him because he wasn't at his best and he was dying.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right. Sai Baba,
Best hair ever.
he's a magician.
Yeah.
Each one of these men that you're looking at on the screen there are different. There's no one that's better than the other. Okay? So understand that. And Sai Baba, I watched him bring all sorts of things into manifestation. One of the great stories of him, and I was there, was he, and he had done this to many. A rich man came to him and had a lot of money, and he wanted to get in with Sai Baba. I don't know what his agenda was. So he had a ring. Sai Baba said, "Let me have the ring," and he took the ring, put it in his hand, closed his hand. And when he revealed his hand again, there was a little plastic ring of Sai Baba.
Oh.
And he gave it back to him. And that was as far as it went, and I have no idea what that was about.
Wow.
But everybody always thought that he could produce this, I don't know how you would describe it. It was ash. And I watched him do it, and to tell you the truth, he gave me a little picture of him when I was there. And at home, I was in Rancho Bernardo in my home in this little office I had built out of my garage, and this picture hung there. And all of a sudden, one day I'm meditating, and I look up, and the ash is falling from the picture.
Wow.
I have no idea what that was about.
Huh.
Krishnamurti, one of the most beautiful individuals I have ever been with. Very, again, forthright. He had no problem saying to people what nasty little creatures we are, and he was right about it all. I feel like all of these men were awakened. I'm sure that Muktananda was too, but I just didn't get a feel for him. But Krishnamurti was brilliant. He was a brilliant, beautiful man. I sat at his feet and I liked listening to him.
Fantastic.
Read all his books too.
Okay, so tell me about Sri Bhagwan Rajneesh, because he probably had a bigger influence than the other.
That picture you're looking at was the first meeting I ever had with him in Bombay. And I remember walking in the room. It was probably 110 outside, but that room was 60 degrees. I mean, the difference was infinite, you know. And some of his ex-sannyasins said about it when they walk in the room, that they didn't see him sitting there. Everything had gone away, everything. But I saw him immediately.
Yeah.
And he was the only thing in the room when I met him. And I sat down at his feet, and he told me everything about Ed and Jean, about my life, about where I'd been, and where I will go. And it was nothing like what is on the Netflix Wild Wild Country. That's not the man I knew.
Yeah, it's almost like two different characters,
Yeah,
right?
you're correct. You're absolutely
We're talking about when he went to Oregon, right?
Right, Oregon. I never went to Oregon. I never did any of that. I was in my career at that time. But I had nothing but magnificent experiences there. I met Tibetans, did Tibetan pulsing, ASEANs I met there, and they were magnificent. I did wear a mullah, and I did take sannyas. In fact, I was given it twice in a way. They changed my name, and there's his robe in my office with the mullah that I got, and
Wow.
I absolutely love it.
So you came back
I came back.
and you continued following these teachings?
No.
No.
Well, I was in the closet. I knew that my audience, I'm a unity minister now.
Right.
And I knew my audience wouldn't particularly like it. And I had a lot of old people. They were studying for their finals. They were going to die. Big thing at Unity Church was, Cookie Sunday, and all the old people get to meet each other. And, maybe you'll find a nurse with a purse or something like that kind of thing. So I snuck little things. I was teaching Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Yeah.
I loved that. And I taught classes.
That's spirituality light.
Yeah, spirituality light, giving the hint that there is more, and that's how I handled it.
Right.
That went over well. Jonathan did.
Very good. Okay, so let's take a look at a clip from Easy for You to Say that addresses the question that a lot of students have, is how can I get the courage to look within, and why am I so afraid of the unknown? So let's take a look at that.
What we try to do religiously is build up attitudes about religion. We build the idea that there's a heaven and a hell. Or we build the attitude intellectually that there is some sort of thing called reincarnation. Whatever philosophy you look at, whatever one you believe in, it's not important. What's important is, will you take the journey within yourself into a deep, dark part of yourself that hasn't got a lot of light because we've never been there before, a place that your mind doesn't want to go. Believe me, where you and I really are is not a place that we can go to with our minds. We have to go to it in our heart. And as we look in the deep, dark caverns of our being, we're afraid if we go much further, we just might disappear. That's the risk we have to take. The risk of going within ourselves is about letting go of what we trust, what we believe in, and what is known. The mystery of life is to move into the unknown. And it means that we take that journey without reservation, without hesitation. We take the journey because we feel the pull inside, and we know if we don't take this journey, life will not be meaningful.
Wow. That was La Jolla?
Yeah, that was a children's pool.
Yeah. Again, no other quote-unquote teacher would say that on air. You can see why. And who wants to get into the darkness, And that's the first thing you face in it. My students know how hard it is to work on themselves. They know. They do know. And not a lot of them are very brave to take the journey. They keep looking at me thinking, well, you know, do I want to be like him? And I don't want them to be like me. I want them to find themselves. That's the purpose of it. There's a great deal of fear about going within, and even more the idea of superstition. What if I can't get back? What if I can't be my old self again? What if I can't be the asshole, you know, I've been known to be?
Yeah.
Well, what do I do? You know, and so there's a lot of hesitation. One out of maybe 1,000 will take that trip. Maybe one, maybe.
Wow.
And it's even worse today with millennials and Gen Xers, Gen Yers, Gen Zers. They have absolutely no inclination. They have no pull. The only pull they have is survival. Social survival. That's all. And I have some millennials and Gen Xers in my group, and they struggle just like the regular ones did, the baby boomers did. You know, baby boomers were more into, I think, political causes. And they tried to associate inner work. They'd watch a few kung fus. Remember kung fu?
Yeah.
In the 60s, they watched a few of those, David Carradine, and they go, oh, that's what I'm going to do. But when they really find out what it's all about and the sacrifices that have to be made inside, they don't go. They can't. There's no way.
Yeah.
They don't have the mentality, the acuity. If a person, it's what I said there, if you don't have the heart, not the human heart, the heart, you can't do it.
Let me ask you this. Are you still on your own spiritual quest? You have more work to do on yourself, do you think?
A ton.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's an ongoing process.
I don't think of it as work on myself. I think more of it as continuing the journey. I think I did a workshop this weekend down here, and I was telling the group, when you're between the ages of 5 and probably 40, you're thinking about, what am I going to do with my life? Remember the old Tony Robbins thing, you know, where are you going to be in 5 years? That, how you know? You're going to be dead maybe in 5 years. That's a stupid question. But when you get past 40, 45, you're not looking at what you're going to do with your life. You're going to look at, how am I going to die? And am I going to lay in that bed, or when I do die, wherever you are, and am I going to look over my life and think, I failed? I mean, I'm not, all I have to give is an estate to my kids. That's it.
Is this all there is?
Yeah, is this all I did? What was I doing? It amazes me, the public, John Q. public, that they don't look at their life and go, really? Get married, have kids, get a retirement, then do nothing, go traveling in my RV? You know, what are you going to see that you can't find in here? Well, they don't even, there's so many things. There's a lot to eat. There's a lot to see. There's where I want to be entertained. You know, I want to see weird things.
Filling time?
Sure. Well, they don't
Basically.
see it that way.
Yeah.
But you're right. What you just said is true. Filling time is very important for the board. In Jonathan Seagull, the reason a seagull's life is so short is because they live for fear, boredom, and anger. And he was right.
Wow.
Jonathan was right. And trying to get people off the narcotic of their estrogen and their testosterone and their serotonin, you've really got to want to go past your body. But, you know, how can I do that? I've got to raise these kids and all that other stuff.
You got to make room. You got to carve out the time and the space to do
Well,
it.
you incorporate that in the family. You incorporate awakening in the family. You incorporate the idea of what it means to love and forgive. Kids aren't taught to forgive. They're not taught what forgiveness is. They don't know. And that will be the most important tool of their life, is how will I forgive? And in the end, they think they're forgiving other people, but it's really myself. So in my own work, my own personal work, it's a lot of forgiving. I don't have any regrets about my life because I see the synchronicity of how everything could happen and the way it happened. And it happened like meeting you, meeting Shredder, meeting everybody we've met through Aspire, the crew, the whole thing. Mambo, you look at it and you go, I would never have met these people had I not been on this path. And every single person was my teacher.
Yeah.
And I looked at it
love
like that. I'm not the teacher. You're my teacher. You're my teacher. We've been in some tight places together. I remember the train station in India.
That was dicey.
That was really
dicey. There was some shady dudes there.
Yeah, and remember the airport? We almost didn't make it home.
That's right.
Huh?
That was a rough landing, and there was no lights. They were paper bags with candles in them was the runway lights.
I thought, sure, we're going to die. We're running on the landing. We're going to die. No, but remember getting home, the customs, they wouldn't let us through?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been through some things together, and they wanted to see our video, think we were spies.
That's right.
Remember?
That's right. Oh, and we got boarded.
Yeah.
We're digressing, but
Yeah, but no, we're not. We're really telling you the story. You were wonderful.
well, bless you, and you too, and you've really enriched my life
I hope
greatly.
so.
Of course. I mean, all right. Well, that's it for this episode.
They happen fast.
We'll be back with some more cool stuff.
Maybe.
Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye.